Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to That Proud Black Woman Show. And thank you for tuning in again on another episode. So, we're in episode 19, and we have one more episode before the end of the season, which is bittersweet. But, it's bitter because I love doing this. It's one of my, like, it's my passion trying to develop and trying to bring more people that have thrived in the industry or whatever industry or field they're in, to give us those nuggets so we can actually apply it to our own lives as well. And it's also sweet because then I get a little bit of break. I can be with family as the weather is beginning to warm up a little bit. So I can be with family, have a little bit of fun. My children miss me on Saturdays. So, but I promise you, season 3 is coming and it's going to be better and bigger. All right. So, who do I have here today? I'm sure you're already wondering, who do I have? If you've been following me on Instagram or on LinkedIn or other platforms, you will know that I said that I will be bringing another amazing entrepreneur, another amazing trailblazer to the show. And who do I have? I have the fantastic, the amazing, the beautiful, the smart. Should I keep going?
Please do.
Lola
I'm ready to keep going.
Adeyemi. So,
Hi,
how are you doing, Lola?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here live with your audience and anyone joining from across the globe to share my story and just have a good conversation.
Exactly, exactly. So for those of you that are joining, remember this is a rule. If you're an OG, you know what we do. How to mark attendance, you have to go in the comment section, you have to say hi to me, hi to the guest, and you have to leave where you're watching from. Are you here in Canada? What city are you watching us from? If you're not in Canada, are you in the US, the UK, in Nigeria? Just leave a comment and let us know what city it is, and I'll try as much as I can to shout you out throughout the process of this show. So anyway, so how was your week? How was your week?
It was great. It was busy. This is the last day of the week. It's been a busy week. Just juggling. This entrepreneurship journey, and then also juggling, still working. I actually do have another job that I do as well, not
Oh
just the
wow.
super. So,
We'll
so
get to
juggling
find out
all.
all about that shortly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But it was a great week, lots of accomplishments, and I had my first live in person meeting
Mm.
where I went to, or I said panel session where I went to the group's MBA class, and I talked to them about
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
I saw that online as well.
So yeah.
Nice. That's good. That's good. All right. I know there's so many exciting things that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to, come back shortly. Welcome back, everybody. So, the first question, I know a lot of people want to know, who is Lola Adeyemi? Who is Lola Adeyemi? Let us know. Bring us a little bit into your world. Who are you? What do you do? And all of that good stuff.
Okay, so Lola Adeyemi is a Nigerian Canadian, first generation. I moved to Canada in 2005 as an international student. I went to University of Winnipeg, amazing city. I was there. I studied writing and communications. This is after I'd already been in university in Nigeria, University of Ibadan to be precise. And I was in medical school actually. But one thing I always say about to people is never judge your future by the experiences and failures, quote unquote, that you may have had. So I basically wasn't, I'd been in science class as a science student all through secondary school, and I did really well. But university, I just wasn't. I wasn't living up to my potential, and I just wasn't actually excited about being a doctor anymore. So I wasn't interested, and so I wasn't doing well. And I had to drop out of medical school, and then I moved to Canada, and then I started writing and communications because I felt like this is a flair that I have. This is something I can excel at. And Canada does not restrict you because, oh, you're a science student, so you have to study science courses. So I would have the freedom or flexibility to decide what I wanted to do, and I decided it was going to be writing and communications. But then after graduating, I'm like, okay, so what will I even do with this degree? Now I know why parents say engineering, lawyer, doctor, because you're done school and then you're like, what's next? But being the ambitious and the kind of person I am that is always thinking about the future and what I can do, I thought, okay, let me go into financial services. And I worked in the banking industry, financial investments industry for a while. And my focus really was to become an exec or VP in that field, but slowly, one way or the other, I found myself here as an entrepreneur after I've worked with the big five banks as an IT consultant. I moved from investments into IT. And then my most recent experience, 9 to 5, before I moved to a 9 to 9, was working with the city of Toronto on enterprise transformation projects. And then, now I work on it super, and I also am a director at Ole Consulting, which is a management consulting and training firm.
That's fantastic. Now I know where that look comes from, the doctor look, because you have that look. All you need now is
I
just
can,
your
I
lab
can,
coat.
I can swag it up, or the
Yeah,
glasses.
you have everything, the
Can take it off
glasses, the
and give
hair,
you that look.
everything. You can definitely pass for a doctor. That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
amazing as well, because you've been able to make your mark on every aspect. You've been to medicine. You saw, well, I don't think this is really for me anymore. You went to IT. You're right now you are the CEO of your own company, and you also work with another managing consulting firm, which is fantastic. So now, how did it super start? Because from every of your background that we've talked about, you never talked about going to culinary school, or you love to cook, or what. You never came with that. So how did it super just come into the mix?
So that's a great question. So it super started. So first of all, I'm not a trained chef. I love to cook. Well, let me rephrase that. I am a talented cook. It's not like I can do without cooking for maybe 2 weeks if you tell me not to cook. But when I go into the kitchen, I
Magic
love to cook.
happens.
I will bring out a great product. And I think it's just a natural talent that I inherited from my mom and my grandmother, excellent cooks. But I just don't have that. I'm too entrepreneurial. I'm too modern day woman to slave myself in the kitchen for hours on end. Because as well, it's also not something that I take as a hobby. It's kind of like a chore for me. That's what cooking is for me. It's a chore. So if I can do without it, I will. But I'm very good at it. So I'm one of those lucky people that just can put things together and it tastes delicious. So I would say I love cooking, but it's something I won't do necessarily every day. So that being said, um, when we will do potlucks, I've been working in the corporate world for over a decade, and we'll do potlucks and any get together, any reason why my team and I or colleagues had to get together and we're bringing food, whether it was a picnic or a potluck, I would always bring Nigerian food because I am Naija to the core. I love Nigerian culture, music, everything. And I thought, I'm not going to go to the store and bring a fruit platter or like cookies or, I would bring Nigerian food. And so I'll bring jollof rice, stewed plantain, and, obedinte, something like that. I felt like, yes, these people will be feeling this. And they would always fight over what was left over. There was nothing, I never went home with
With
anything
anything, yeah.
left. And so I think that's when the seeds started getting planted, even though I hadn't realized it. But people would always ask me, where can I get this? Where can I buy it? And as you know, being somebody who lives in the city, now it's getting better where you can find Nigerian restaurants spread across. But at the time, most of Nigerian restaurants were in the core of the North York area. And so
Exactly.
it wasn't accessible for a lot of my colleagues. And as well, there was no way I could like tell them, oh, well, just go to the supermarket, buy this sauce, buy your chicken, and you can have a Nigerian meal, at least a quick and easy one. So, but at the time, I wasn't thinking entrepreneurship. Like I told you, it was always been I want to be an exec. I want to grow up the ladder and become like, a VP or something of that sort at some point. So entrepreneurship wasn't something that I was thinking about. But a time came when I was just feeling like I'd gotten to the point in my career where I wasn't feeling challenged. I loved my job. I loved the city of Toronto. My coworkers were amazing. I was working on exciting projects, but I just wasn't challenged. I wasn't excited. And I felt like I needed something more to just bring back that excitement and work on a mini project that I could work on that could keep me motivated. And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm a spiritual person. A lot of us grew up either Christian, Muslim, or even traditional, but we believe in God, a lot of us Nigerians. And so I wrote it down and said, God, like, I want to create something that people across the world will want to buy. I don't know what it is, but that's what I wrote down. But it's also prayer with action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, what action can I take? Because I'm more business. I haven't learned anything about trade, about commerce. I didn't study business. So I thought, okay, let me take a course. So I took this e-commerce course because I'm like, if I want to sell something online, I need to learn about e-commerce. And before I actually completed the course, I have not completed that program till today. But before I finished that course, I actually got the idea for it. Super. And one of the reasons was because the program, they gave us an assignment and said, create a website, create a brand, create something based on a market gap. So look for a gap in the market. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but look for a gap, a niche that you can fill and confirm that there is a need for it and fill that gap. So I was thinking of different ideas from like gym wear. One of my friends is an active trainer and gym person, and I was looking for a birthday gift I was going to give her, and I saw that the gym wear, they're all black or neon yellow and just very like nothing attractive. I was like, oh, maybe I can do athlete wear or gym wear that could be really nice and have that afro flair. But I was
Vision.
like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about fashion. Maybe that's not my, line. And so I'll think of different things. I even thought of Airbnb for food, where people that like myself that like to cook here and there sometimes can bring in people to your house, like a dine with me situation, and you get paid and that kind of thing. But I was like, my husband was like, that sounds like a health hazard situation, or kidnapping can happen. Like, that's too complicated. So I packed that. But finally, the idea for it super came. And I was just like, it came like a flood of like everything just came in that moment. And it was just like, wait, there is a gap in the market for food. Like, I love to cook. And every time I love soups, I love even Canadian soups, but I would always tweak it. They were always bland. They were always boring. When people think of soup, they think of something bland and boring. And
You
that is
eat
not
when you're sick.
exactly as
That's the
Nigerians,
idea I have.
as Nigerian, that soup is the main
Yeah,
ginger of the
yeah,
food.
exactly.
Like, the soup is the main meal, and the amala, pounded yam, whatever it is that you eat with it, or the gari that you eat with the soup, is
That's
just an
what gives it a taste.
compliment. But the
Yeah.
soup is the main attraction. And I'm like, why are they making soup boring here? That is the reason why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start a soup line. It came in that same moment. I'm gonna create a soup line. It's gonna be called It's Super, and I'm gonna like have soups and sauces and stuff like that. I went straight to my computer, searched for the name It's Super. I was like, how is this not taking? Is it really free? So I booked the URL, everything, and I was like, wait, okay, so now I say I'm going to start a soup line. Do I know anything about food manufacturing? Like, what am I doing?
That was going to be my next question. Like, how
Yeah.
did you
So
start that, put all of that together? Right?
yeah. Yeah. So it was a kind of situation where I'm like, okay, now that I have this booked, what am I going to do? I don't know anything about food industry, about food manufacturing. It's quite complex. One thing I knew for sure is that you shouldn't be cooking at home and selling to the public. So I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't want to do a brick and mortar restaurant, because I felt like I wanted to fill the gap. I felt like, yes, there are some brick and mortar restaurants and they're filling some gap, but I felt like where the gap was non-existent was in the grocery stores, because you would find Asian food, you would find even Caribbean food, you would find like naan and curry is one of my favorite Asian, like Indian foods. I can cook it a pretty good naan and curry meal, just from going to No Frills and buying, what I need. But for African food, it was pretty much non-existent. So I thought that was the niche, that was the area of the gap that I wanted to fill for African food. And so, but then how do I get it from like cooking in my kitchen to having a packaged good? And one thing I knew for sure was that with the concept and the idea that I had for this brand. I didn't want it to be stuck to the flea market, to the Afro-Caribbean store. I wanted it to be able to compete on mainstream levels. So I wanted to start from the very jump, have everything that it should have, from nutritional labels to certified stamps of everything that needed, French translation, everything that it needed to do to be able to, I needed to do to be able to compete. And so I thought, okay, I have to do this right. And so from the time when I actually had the idea, this was in December or so 2017, until I actually had a product that I was selling was December 2018. It took me a whole year
Oh, yeah.
from learning about the industry to getting certified in getting my food handlers to actually perfecting the recipes, deciding the recipes I wanted to launch with, designing the packaging, all that stuff, to finally having a product that was ready to launch. Because I was doing this myself. I didn't have any big agency, or I didn't have any huge VC funding. I was just doing this myself. So it took about a year to have a product that I was selling.
That's fantastic. So within that year, how did you, like, how expensive was this project when you started, like within that year before you finally was able to put a product out there? How
Yeah.
expensive was it? That's number one. And number two is, was it self-funded, or did you have to, talk to friends and family, or to have a loan and things like that? How did that go?
Yeah, that's another great question. And I think a lot of times people hesitate, not just entrepreneurship, but even anything that you want to do to get to the next level. They hesitate about, oh my God, it's a huge investment. I have to spend this much money. And you have to think about the bigger picture. So at the time, there was a course that my friend Dami actually did some research. He's like, oh, I found this thing called Food Starter. It's like a cohort program for people who want to get into the food industry. Maybe you should try it. But it's like $1,500. Or I was like, well, you know what? Even if I pay that 1,500 and I realize that this thing is a mistake, at least it's a $1,500 learning mistake, than spend going ahead, making the mistake and going in and spending $20,000 of my savings and then realizing
Exactly.
that I made a mistake. So I decided to go apply for the program. I got in, and this was a subsidized program at the time. It doesn't exist anymore. Actually, they've been, like, I think the government stopped funding. It was funded by Enterprise Toronto, and so I think my cohort was the second to the last cohort before they stopped the program. So
Okay.
that's the thing about timing as well. When you have a decision, make the decision and go for
Make it
it.
right
So
away.
I invested at 1,500, and believe it or not, actually, towards the end of the program, I was actually feeling like maybe I won't do it super anymore. And I'll tell you why.
I
I
thought you
was
were going to say I was feeling more confident.
No, actually, and it's not because the program wasn't great, but it was because of the things we call imposter syndrome, or the syndrome of like self-doubt, or all those things, because I was the only Black woman, the only Black person, the only Black woman in that cohort. And a lot of people in that program were doing like this vegan, this adopted, like all these like fancy Canadian thing. And here I am presenting this African meal that I felt like, hey, are
Would
people
they,
going to like this?
would this
I was
fly?
losing my confidence gradually, class by class by
Diminishing
class by class. And I was like, okay, maybe I should start a food truck. I was starting to lose my focus. I was like,
focus.
maybe a food truck is what I should do first, so that I can educate people about African food first before I now go into, I was losing my focus. And even though I was learning a lot, I was gradually pulling out from the idea, until, and this is the importance of mentorship. Um, at the end of the program, the $1,500 value that I got, aside from learning a lot of things about the industry, was that 1 hour session. At the end of the program, you have a 1 hour session with a mentor.
Mhm.
And the mentor I met in that session is still a very good friend and mentor of mine today. And I presented my idea, my concept, my logo to him and everything. And he said, oh my God, I have been doing this for years, and I have been looking for somebody who will bring up something innovative, something exciting like this. This is a splendid idea. I
Wow.
love it. You're going to do well. In fact, when you get home today, go and trademark this logo. I love it so much. It's so simple. And I remember going that day, I remember going into my car and I called my husband. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this. I am doing this. I was so excited. He was like, oh, nice. That's awesome. So that 1 hour meeting with a mentor changed the trajectory of what I was doing and the focus of the brand. And it was from there he actually helped me. He's also like a food consultant developer, and he helped me, tweak and get the things ready, educate me on what to do, educate me on even how to pitch to stores, how to go into some of these stores. He was also one of the people who helped connect me with Sobeys, and educate me on things, because there's 20 degrees of separation between myself and somebody who can help me. Because keep in mind, I'm a first generation immigrant. I didn't school here for high school. I don't have that network. I was an international student. I was mixing a lot with international students as well in a new
Exactly.
environment. And so I haven't built that huge network. And so having mentors and people who can sponsor, guide, support you, especially in an industry that's complicated like food, was very vital to my growth and how I started. So, but yeah,
That's
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 basically,
really great. And talking
yeah.
about pitching, so you said this particular person, taught you about how to pitch and all of that.
Mhm.
So now going to the lion's den, at what point did you think that, okay, I've watched Dragon's Den, even though it's scary, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do great? At what point did I? Because I watch Dragon's Den sometimes, and sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, the way, like, it's actually a Dragon's Den, because you could either
Yeah.
go in there and come back out crying because
Hmm.
they're gonna tear your ideas down, or
Hmm.
you can go in there and you present a fantastic idea and you come back with a partner or with an investor. So
Yeah.
how didn't that scare you?
So I actually didn't apply for Dragons Den. So a casting director reached out to me. I think she had read my story in the Toronto Star. She just said she had read my story and she felt like I'll be a good fit for the show. And she felt like my story was inspiring and all that. And I remember getting that email. I'm like, what? Dragons Den? People had told me, friends or family, like, oh, you should go on Dragons Den. I'm like, nah, maybe in like 2, 3 years when I'm at $1 million point where I feel like I'm going to go in there confidently and nobody can shake me. Um, and so when I got this email, I just thought, you know what, am I ready for this? I don't know if I'm going to respond to this. And um, I remember my husband and even like my friend told me, then she's like, oh, just go, like, they haven't even confirmed that you're going to actually be on the show. Just apply. What do you have to lose? And so I applied. You do an audition video, you record yourself, and then from there and gradually from stage to stage. First stage I applied, then the next stage I did my audition video, then the next stage I met with the executive producers, and they do like a mock interview, which is basically like interviewing you like what you do on the den, you also pitching to them about yourself being on the show and the value you can bring to the show. Because keep in mind, it's a reality show, so they're
Exactly.
not just thinking about your business, they're thinking about their business, which is a reality show and what the audience wants to see. So I pitched all that to them, and then some couple of weeks later they were like, oh, you're going to be live in the den. Now, keep in mind, being live on the den does not mean that your episode would air
Yeah.
on TV,
Mhm.
because on the chopping board when they're editing, they're going to look for people that they may have gotten a deal, but they're not good for TV or they were boring. So I thought, me that likes being showcasing African,
Yeah,
you know,
I was going
fashion,
to go.
everything. I said I have to represent
Yes, I was
my
going to go
idea
into the
concept
entry
was,
where you were like, you
yeah,
had brought a drummer with you and you danced your way in, and the other guy was also
yeah,
dancing. It was fun, man. So how
same.
did you come up with that
Yeah,
idea?
so the idea concept that I had was not just to have Sekou, who was the drummer. I also wanted to maybe have, because I felt like maybe with nerves and everything, I might not be able to really dance. And I didn't want to dance in a way whereby I'll now just go and fall down, break my leg, embarrass the Nigerian community. So I was like, I'll just do JJ dance. I'm not going to do shaku shaku or anything,
Yeah.
bese kind of thing. So I'm like, let me get maybe two African dancers as well that would dance in with Sekou. But because of the pandemic, and because
Uh,
it was in the heat of COVID when we did the filming, they said, oh, that you could only have one person. So I didn't, normally you'd get allowed to have maybe three people or so. So your family members can be in the green room with you and to support you, help you create setup and all that. But it was just myself and Seiko. I had nobody to even practice with. I was so nervous. I was sweaty. I was exhausted. But one thing is that I knew that I was going in to represent Africa. That jacket that I wore, it
Yeah.
came in the night before, because the one I got before was messed up. Like everything it was just such a last minute thing. But to the glory of God, it went really well. I went in and I danced in. I swear, when I was in the Dragon's Den, it's a studio. I've never been in a studio before, like live recording in a studio, and you can hear a pin drop. It's very quiet. So when you're speaking, you're hearing yourself. And as I was talking, I'm like, I'm forgetting my lines. Oh, hey, but words are coming out of my mouth, but my brain is telling me, Lola, you're just saying, Rob, what are you saying? Speak confidently. Why is your voice shaking? Like, I was just a mess, but I was trying to present myself
You
like,
look comforted, like
oh my
nobody
God,
could
it was
see any of
nerve-wracking.
those.
You're looking at these 5 people staring at you, 5 successful people, and they're staring at you, shaking their head or and like, different expressions, and at the same time you're trying to keep a straight face.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nerve-wracking, but it was an amazing experience, like, once in a lifetime experience that has been a blessing for the brand as well.
That's fantastic. So how were you able, when it comes to marketing your products, giving it visibility and also getting it on the shelves, as it has been your dream to have it in the grocery store so that anybody from anywhere could go grab it and, make a Nigerian dish or make an Afro-Infusion dish. How were
Mhm.
you able to manage all those aspects of it, the marketing, getting those packs on the shelves?
It's still very hard. I remember when I first started in early 2019 or so, I thought, once I hit one grocery shelf, I'm made. That was the same day it hit a grocery shelf, the first grocer that I was in. I started with small mom and pop grocery stores, because the bigger grocery stores like Sobeys and Whole Foods that we're in now, they have a longer process.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I just wasn't sure I was ready for that. So because I was still producing it myself in a shared kitchen facility. Um, but I realized once it hit the shelf that, hey, marketing, who knows about this brand? How are people going to see this and go grab it and purchase it? So hitting the shelf is actually the easy part, even though it can be hard. The hardest part is it being purchased by people. And I remember one time it was starting to expire. It was getting close to expiry. A couple of the products on that shelf, and I told my husband, I said, please go and buy the product so that the store won't think that I wasn't selling. Because if the
Mm-hmm.
stores think you're not selling,
They
then
won't take it.
they're not gonna reorder. And it was so ironic, like so funny, like, because that is how hard it is. And so I'm selling my product to them and I'm buying it.
Buying it back.
That is part of marketing. And a lot of big brands actually do that because they want that, that impression of the fact that the brand is doing really well.
Mhm.
But it was a huge struggle for me and a huge reality check. And that is why when people tell me, oh, when are you going to be in Walmart? When are you going to be in Loblaws? I'm like, I am crawling before I run, or before I even walk, I need to crawl first because I need to be sure that this brand is set up for success. And I need to make
Exactly.
all my mistakes on a small scale. It's not like I can't even be in the US. I've gotten US interest, I've gotten national interest, but I'm making that conscious decision to get my brand to the point where I have made those mistakes locally, right? Because those local smaller mistakes are easier to fix. For example, a big example is pricing.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved from making it myself to a co-packer, which is a co-manufacturer. So remember I said like big brands like Sobeys and like they wouldn't accept your product if you're making it, especially a food product that has meat and stuff in it. They wouldn't accept it if you're making it in a shared facility because the health liability standards are lower and they have really high standards and high liability. So they want you to be making it either from your own certified kitchen or from a co-manufacturing kitchen. I obviously don't have the funds or at this point the interest in building my own huge commercial kitchen. So I went out searching, and that also took me a long time. I went out searching for a co-packer that would be willing to pack my type of product with the complexity. It's not just like a lot of the Canadian type or Western soups. It's just a lot of times the base is broth, and then they put vegetables and and all that. But ours is layered. You fry the onion, and I still, as much as possible, made it authentic the way we make it. So you fry the oil, fry the onions, put the spice. Is
Mhm.
layered and complex, right? So I had to find a co-packer that was willing to put in the effort and not cut corners, but also be reasonably priced. And that took me a while to find a co-packer that would even work with me with my pricing. And with that, I was still afraid because I thought, who would want to buy atadindi or chili ewa and all that like for
Mhm.
this price that I'm putting it? I was under self undermining my
Mhm.
brand and my product because I felt it's African. I was not thinking about the fact that it's African is the reason why it's exotic and is the reason why it should be priced higher,
Definitely. Definitely.
because I am importing spices that are not readily available here. I am making it as authentic as possible. And this is a fusion, and this is products that are not, I don't have, I'm not on the soup island, there's another tomato soup. No,
Mhm.
there is no other atadini on a Sobeys shelf. I am the only one having that product. So I have the ability to be able to command a price. And so, but I made the mistake of like self doubt and thinking, who want to buy it for this price that I should be pricing it at? And so when I got into Sobeys and Whole Foods, I underpriced my product, whereby I wasn't making enough margin to be able to do cover the cost of marketing, distribution, and that's a lot of things that people in the food industry do not know. You don't just have a price and say, well, okay, if I double it or so, then this is what I should sell it at. You have to accommodate for the promotions, like all those promotions you
Exactly.
see when there's a sale on your favorite product. It's not the
Mhm.
store paying for it, it is the brand paying for it. Then
Mhm.
you think about, like, sometimes they charge you free fills, which is mainly like you filling the shelf for free. Sometimes if they don't charge you a listing fee, companies like Loblaws and all those other brands, or if I go national with Sobeys, they will start charging me something called a listing fee, which is basically paying real estate fee, because every aisle on the shelf is real estate, right? So it's a real
Definitely.
estate business. So you can pay up to $10,000 or more, $50,000 for like Loblaws on a certain shelf. Um, and that's a lot of money. So you have to have the marketing dollars to support it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the ROI. And so it's a lot of things that I had to be able to put in from my gross margin to my net to be sure that I can accommodate all those things from distributor. The distributor, who is the person who takes your product and
To the
ships
stores.
it, drops it at the different stores, they take an average of 25%.
Wow.
The stores take about 30%. That's already 50. What's left for the brand,
And you
right?
still
And
have
you
to do
have
the
to still
marketing and all of those. And if you
exactly.
have staff, you still have to pay your staff as well.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that is a lot of things that the people that come into this industry do not know or do not realize. The brands, a lot of the times, gross don't make, they sometimes, for all the effort, they don't make as much as the stores, right?
Mhm.
And they're the ones taking a lot of the risk. So you have to be able to be sure. And I find that a lot of times the brands that succeed, especially in today's world, are those that have really good marketing, good PR. And so that's one of the key things that I'm really trying to work on right
Yeah,
now.
that's true because I remember that last week I was having a conversation and I said, you know what? Why does Coca-Cola and Pepsi still keep bringing all these commercials and all of that? They're already made. And then
Hmm.
the person said, yeah, they will easily be kicked off the market by other ones if they
Yeah,
don't continue with that same one. Because I was like,
an innovation.
Coke has been always there. Pepsi has been, is everybody's favorite. So why are
Yeah.
they still putting a lot more money into all this marketing, into all this, jingles that they do on Christmas and all of that? But that's
Mm,
the truth. You have for you to remain relevant in the market and not be kicked out by the other products, you have to continue to market, like be
mhm.
aggressive with your marketing. And this does not only have to do with just products that you put on the shelf. Even for those of us that are professional in the office and things like that, I know I have a mentor and he's always saying, you know what? He's also a lawyer like me. And he's
Mm,
always telling me, you know what? The law part of this firm is 40%. the business is 60%. So you have to
Yeah.
learn to market yourself. You have to, you have to learn those business skills. Otherwise, you
Mhm.
would know the law. You could know the law for all you want. But
Yeah.
if no client is coming in or you cannot retain your client, then
Yeah.
what are you doing exactly? So
Yeah.
it is a business. So in every
Even, yeah,
aspect.
that's true. Even churches, they
Yeah.
spend a lot on marketing. And that is religion, like, religion, every institution, you have to spend money on marketing. You have to show people the value that you bring, right? You have to show people the value and show people why you're different. And it's something that, as well as the education. So a lot of times, you know how we are from like tropical countries, we eat soup every day, even when it's the hottest day in
It
like
gives you the strength
Nigeria.
to carry
Yeah,
on for the
you
day.
use soup and you take off your shirt and you fan yourself and you're eating it.
Yeah.
But here they think about soup as a tea, like something you take when the weather is cold. So now we're getting to the slowest time or slowest season for my product, which is why innovation is important. So we initially only had one sauce product, but now we're launching two sauce products, which is our peri peri and our green pepper sauce, which is kind of like an ayemache slash a Ghanaian green shito. And it's because I want to be able to be sustainable and not have products that in the summertime, okay, oh, no more business. And then I'll wait till fall when the weather is cold because of
Yeah.
the environment where I'm selling it, right? They still have that mindset that, oh, it's soup. And so a lot of the grocery managers and the grocery stores don't even fill their shelves with soups during the summertime because they have that
Exactly.
mindset that soup is for when it's cold, right?
Yeah.
They have soup season mindset. And so I'm always trying to educate people from our Instagram to our social media to show people that this is not a watery soup. This is a hearty gumbo soup that you can use to make different things. It doesn't
Eat
have
it
to
with
just
your
be
rice, show them how we
exactly
eat
eat it with
it.
rice, make tacos, make a hot dog, make a hamburger. Like we show them different things. And so that education
Exactly.
part, but it's such a big leap in cultural education and mindset. And I'm like, this is too big. So my focus is continuous education to show that the brand is versatile. But I
Yeah.
also have to diversify my line of products so that there's more things that I can sell that are not seasonal dependent. So in the
Exactly.
summertime, sauces are huge because people are doing barbecues, people are doing more things. So I can leverage that. And in the wintertime when it's cold, people are still eating sauces, but
Even
people are looking for soups.
some other people, I find out that when I go to Caribbean stores, things that
Yeah.
we call soups, they call it gravy. Like,
Yes.
so I
Yes.
think sometimes it also has to do with whatever nomenclature you ascribe to it. So if you say
Yes.
sauce, okay, sauce, we can eat it anytime. If you say
Yeah.
gravy, okay, we can put it on something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense how you're thinking about like diversifying and giving it those kind of different names where people understand that this is not just when you're sick or when you're cold. This is
Yes.
actually a rich exotic sauce, season, whatever it is that you'd want to call it. It just goes right there and you can eat it with whatever. So that's
Mhm.
really important. And now, all of this aside, when you started, how did you come up with the packaging? Did you ever have like an idea of how your packaging is going to be? Is it going to be in a bag? Is it going to be in a can? Did you
Mhm.
have that, or it was along the way that you developed that?
So I initially started with the plastic tubs.
Mhm.
And then I moved into the current pouches that we're in right now. And then the sauces are all going to be in glass jars, the
Mhm.
skinny glass jars. So the soups will be in pouches, and our sauces will be in jars. Now, for the concept and design, I wanted it to represent what Africa is to me. Colorful, vibrant, hot, exotic, without mud cloth designs and patterns. I wanted it to be African without saying in your face African. And I didn't want it to have the standard, basic, sometimes lazy, I feel, design that sometimes some African brands do. So I wanted it to say African, colorful, vibrant, without just clearly being, because sometimes if it's too in your face of a certain ethnicity,
So
people
people
might
don't
just
want
feel
it.
that it's not mainstream or it's not for
Mhm.
everybody. So I wanted it to be for everybody, but still represent us. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the concept I had was just that, like, colorful kind of concept that would each color kind of in line with the product as well. So red being for the chili because it has meat in it, and red meat, sausage and stuff like that, or the carrot, the paprika being orange and red, and then the Moroccan being a nude color. All that stuff had to do with like just also tying it to the product as well. And so one of the reasons why I moved into the from the plastic tubs was because of sustainability and the environment and all that. A lot of people moving away from plastic where possible, and that's one of the big mandates that Sobeys also has. So I thought, okay, let me move into something more sustainable. And as well, the other reason why we're moving into the glass jars for all our sauces is because when you look at your competition, you have to look at when you're on the shelf. Like if you're going to launch, if you're listening and you want to launch a product, you have to go on the shelf and see what your competitors are doing, and also figure out, okay, you can create something unique, but if you have to create something unique, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So what uniqueness can you do within the shelf that will also make you stand out? And so I thought, okay, well, when I went on the shelf, it was either glass jars, all sauces, gravies, all that. They're all in glass jars. Some of them are in pouches, like I am right now. But a lot of times the pouches on the shelf, on the regular shelf, they fall off because they don't stand really firmly and all that. I'm like, okay, I don't want to have that extra situation where if you're also in a pouch, they put you in a separate place. I want to be in line on the same level with all the other sauce and brands like myself. So I thought, okay, I'm going to move it to glass, even though glass can be a headache, it breaks, it's heavy and all that, but that is also what a lot of other brands like myself are dealing with. So I thought it was a good decision to move into that. But I chose a skinny long jar because I felt, okay, well, it's going to be slim, it's going to look nice, slender on the shelf, and also still stayed within that it's super branding. So when you go from our soups to our sauces, the branding still stays the same. You still know that it's super.
That's fantastic. That's really great. So out of all of this experience for you and all the growth you've gotten and learning all your challenges, what is the best part of it? What are the things, the lessons you have learned along the way that will stay with you and you will use to continue to develop your brand going forward?
I would say that it's, first of all, the bad side about entrepreneurship is that it's a lonely journey. People see the outside. People see, oh, you're on Dragon's Den. Oh, you're on this magazine. You're in this paper. But the same day you're in the paper, you're crying about, oh my God, is this thing going to be successful? Oh my God, I need more sales. I need to do better. You're so hard on yourself because the passion for the success of this brand is very important. But one thing that I realized is that as well, that passion that I have for the success of this brand outweighs the fears that I have of failure, right? So as long as your passion outweighs your fears of failure, because fears and failure and stuff like that, um, those doubts will come, like I said, because as well, being a solo founder, I don't really have many people to like, brainstorm with or say, okay, and the food industry is very unique. So a lot of times you have to find people that are in the same field or can understand to a certain extent, and can coach you or give you concepts or ideas. But at the end of the day, no matter the coaching, the talking and everything, your journey is still so unique that you have to learn from your own mistakes. So I'll say that yes, as lonely as the journey is, I realized that my passion for this goes beyond just having a food brand. I want it super, and the companies that will come from this as well, to be an innovator and to represent Africa in the food and beverage space. And so that is huge. That is a huge goal that I've set for myself. But
Yeah.
still, for that huge goal, I'm still so far away. But I know that gradually I am representing every time, every opportunity. Even when you asked me to come on this show, I thought, oh, it's busy, but you know what? I'm going to make time because I feel like sharing the stories, representing African brands and representing myself for my brand as well, and sharing those stories is really important to not just inspire, but to encourage people as well to also, if they have ideas for African products, for even just any business, it doesn't have to be specifically an African type or fusion or inspired brand. Anything that you have to just go for it, especially, and don't take too much time. Make the action and take that action once the idea starts coming, because every unique idea is only unique until somebody else creates it. And trust
Exactly.
me, there are billions of people in this world, and that idea that you have, somebody else is also thinking about it. And so you find a lot of times people say, "Oh my God, I had that same idea, but why didn't you take action?" So that's what I'll say, is just continue that. Like, the things that I've learned is just to, as lonely as the journey is, as stressful as it is, the tears that you cry in the shadows where nobody's seeing,
Yeah.
is worth it when people come to me and say, "Oh my God, you're inspiring. You've inspired me to start my business. I love your product. I get home and I just take the pepper sauce and dinner is ready so quickly. Oh my God, I love your Moroccan. It's so amazing. Oh my God, when are you going to get to the US? I tasted it at my cousin's." But those kind of things just inspires me to be like, wow, I'm not a medical doctor saving lives and doing surgery, but I am inspiring people, and just making lives easier for people, and also representing Africa in a positive way. So, and I think that to me just brings a lot of fulfillment.
That's amazing. And this is a fantastic way to end Women History Month, because all that you've had to go through, all that you've thought about, like, and you seeing it come into fruition from your effort, that is fantastic and that's phenomenal. And for a lot of women that are out there working today, I hope you take one or two nuggets and you're able to apply it to yourself as well as we end the Women History Month. And we have just one more episode before the end of the season, as I said, which is going to be next week. And after that, I'm also going to be taking a break.
You
But
deserve
I
it.
really appreciate you coming on the show. I know we've been trying to set this up for a little while now, but I'm so excited that you were able to, make it on the show and inspire people. And I believe a lot of people listening today would have taken at least one thing that they can also apply to their own current situation or current businesses, even if they started, that they can, leverage and do better. Because, for example, a lot of times people actually reach out to me and say, "Oh yeah, I watched this particular episode and I like that guest, and I got inspired and all of that." And I'm sure a lot of people are still going to be reaching out to me and telling me, "You know what? That lady that you brought, Lola, she's fantastic." And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you back the rest of your day because I know that you have a laundry list of things to do. And I'm going to leave everybody also to get back to their daily lives. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and have a fantastic Saturday.